e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, Sicilian defense, c takes d4, Sicilian defense, Tartakower variation, opening line. Knight takes d4, Sicilian defense, normal variation, opening line. Knight f6, Sicilian defense, Benko variation, opening line. The knight c3, a6, Sicilian defense, Najdorf variation, opening line. f3, out of opening book. f4, would have been in the Sicilian defense, Najdorf variation, book opening. e5, attacks white's knight at d4. Knight, bishop e6, bishop e3, bishop e7, enables the short castle. Queen d2, enables the long castle. Castle kingside. Castle queenside. a5, a4, knight a6, g4, knight b4, moves it off the edge. King b1, queen c7, g5, attacks black's knight at f6. Knight h5, moves it to safety. Bishop b5, rook a c8, rook h g1, f5, g takes f6 en passant, partially pins black's pawn at g7 and threatens black's bishop at e7. Knight takes f6, disengages the pin on black's pawn at g7 and removes the threat on black's bishop at e7. Black wins a pawn for a pawn. Material is even. Queen g2, threatens to mate. Queen takes pawn. Knight h5, knight c1, bishop f6, knight d3, takes the knight away from the edge of the board. Knight takes d3, rook takes d3, knight f4, forks white's queen and white's rook at d3 and blocks white's pawn at f3. Bishop takes f4, removes the threat on white's rook at d3 and white's queen. E takes f4. Knight d5, forks black's pawn at f4 and black's queen and blocks black's pawn at d6. Bishop takes d5, removes the threat on black's queen and black's pawn at f4. Rook takes d5, blocks black's pawn at d6. White wins a bishop and 2 knights for a bishop and 2 knights. Material is even. Bishop e5, blocks white's pawn at e4. c3, rook f6, queen f2, b6. Bishop a6, threatens black's rook at c8. Rook b8, moves it to safety. Bishop d3, King h8. Rook b5. Blocks black's pawn at b6. Rook f7. h4. Queen a7. Queen c2. Rook c7. Queen b3. Rook c5. Queen e6. Rook takes b5. Bishop takes b5. Blocks black's pawn at b6. White wins a rook for a rook. Material is even. Rook f8. h5. Queen c7. King a2. Queen d8. Queen g4. Queen c7. King b3. Rook c8. Queen e6. Queen c5 threatens white's rook. Rook g5 moves it to safety and pins black's bishop. Rook b8. Rook f5. The game ends with no result.